Well, how many of us have inboxes that are overflowing with everything from junk email to messages that we haven't responded to but need to, and everything in between? So, my guest today has a real passion for this topic and has some helpful tips for how to do a better job managing your inbox. Stay tuned. Well, this is Tech Tips for Seniors, a show with tips for seniors or anyone really on how to better use technology such as smartphones and computers in your daily lives. And I'm your host, Bruce Ciotta. My guest today is my daughter, Stephanie Braun. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hi, great to be here with you.
Yeah, Stephanie, you have some tips to share with us about how to manage the inbox of your email. And before we get into that, can you just introduce yourself and also share how you came to be passionate about this topic?
Sure. I'm speaking to you today from sunny North Carolina, beginning of summer today. And my husband and I and our kids, we live out here in North Carolina because we work with a missionary organization named JAARS. And yeah, so today is the first day that the kids are off of school for summer break. And we work, as I said, work with the missions organization. We work with airplanes, so you might even hear one fly overhead today as we're speaking.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love the background that you have in your view, the beautiful trees of North Carolina. It's just lovely there. And I do miss that. We've got some desert landscape behind us here from where we are in the Phoenix area. So tell us a little bit, Stephanie, about the why. How did you get so passionate about managing your inbox?
Sure. So, as part of the missionary organization that we're part of, there are many times that I receive emails that have to do with our ministry or even communication with our partner churches and people from back home. And I don't want to miss any of those. And with an organized inbox, it makes it a lot easier to be able to make sure I'm not missing anything important or forgetting to respond to someone.
Yeah, good. I think about the fact that, even before computing got started, the basic worker's desk included an inbox. It was a physical inbox where everything incoming was placed. Some snail mail was thrown in there. There was interoffice mail. There were notes from memos from fellow workers or the boss. And the inbox evolved when email arrived. And now it wasn't a box on your desk anymore, but it became a digital location for incoming mail. And so it was pretty obvious when you saw someone in the office who had an inbox which was cluttered, and you knew if you were putting something in there that they were probably not going to get to the thing that you were dropping in this huge pile because they were disorganized and didn't quite manage things. But now that we have it all in the digital world, you can't really tell, but it's a burden for the person who's struggling with it, right? On how to find things such as your important emails from people that you communicate with regularly or want to anyway, but you have to stay on top of it. I can definitely understand your passion.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think email has changed so much from, even 10, 15, 20 years ago. Well, when it first, I guess not even that long, when it first started, originally you were getting a lot of emails from people that were personal emails that you needed to keep up with. But now, over the last years, so much of the time, it's companies that you may have signed up for. I wanted to, I was interested in this product, so I just went on to check something out, and they asked for my email address. And in order to see more, I needed to put in my email address. And now I'm getting an email every day from this company, and I'm not even interested in this. And so now we're getting all these emails that have nothing to do with anything personal. And then when you do get something that's important, now you've got, dozens or maybe even 100 emails coming at you a day and one or two important ones. And how can you make sure you're not missing those important ones? Or how can you even find it later on to refer back to the important ones when you've got all these other emails in the pile. So it's like what you're saying, that desk, but imagine not just people giving you memos and things, but also just piles of catalogs and magazines and flyers just coming on your inbox too at the same time. How are you going to find that little memo that said, don't forget to meet me at 4 o'clock for a meeting, in that middle of that stack?
Yeah, yeah. I know it's true. Some people have thousands of emails. They just let their inbox just grow and grow and grow and grow. And so, what are some tips you have, or how do you approach this? Let's say there's somebody who's, really a beginner. How do we even begin to tell them about what to do?
Yeah, I think one of the important things is to even visualize that an inbox can be a better situation. That instead of just being a giant list of every email that every company could ever send to you scattered with a few things, that it could just be your main message, the important messages sitting there for your attention. So I think potentially just starting with a better vision of it, you being in control of the inbox. Um, then I think, to me, one of the best strategies has been using folders. So imagine on
Hmm.
that desk, you've got your inbox on that physical desk there where you're getting things. But then also imagine underneath there's a drawer that you can pull out. And in that drawer is all of, an archive of folders, file folders that you can take messages that are important that you're going to need or want in the future and put it into a file folder. And instead of in the future looking back in your inbox for that message, um, you can just look into your file folder. So let's say, for example, you bought a plane ticket and you're going to be traveling to come visit. Actually, let's say you're coming out at Christmas time to visit North Carolina, like
Right.
somebody I know. And so you buy that ticket, but it's only for December. Now, if you leave it in your inbox, what's the chances of you finding that information in December?
Mm.
Practically impossible, right? You could have thousands of emails between now and then. So if you take that email message and click on it and move, well, I guess I should back up a little bit. One of the things you have to do is create some folders so you can, I'm sure you would be better at the tech part of this to be able to explain it, but you can make some folders, um, virtual folders that you label things like travel, upcoming travel, and you could click on that and move it into your folder. Then you've moved it into that archive in your desk into the file folder named travel. And so when that date is approaching, instead of searching in your inbox, you can look right into that travel folder and pick it right out perfectly.
Yeah, I think what we'll do, as I've done in recent podcasts, is to create a demo. Uh, the way that you create folders is very dependent on which email program you're using. Some people use Gmail, which is the Google product. I use Apple's Mail application, which sits in as a program within the Apple operating system. So we can show a demo of how to create a folder on one of those and perhaps add some links to some videos that are out there today for how to create folders in other email types. So I think we can show that in a later, but I definitely agree with you that folders tend to be a more useful means to storing things, just like they are in your office, in your physical folders. Everyone has a file folder system of some sort in their house. Whether it's working for them or not is another story, but that's an important component here. That's a great idea.
They don't always have to be an important topic like travel. Sometimes you get a nice email from someone that was meaningful, and you could even have a folder that's just sentimental, and you might want to put things like that into that. So it doesn't always have to have an important topic, but I have folders for many things from um, upcoming events um, to emails from our church, from uh yeah, for the kids' schools. They each have their own folder. So I have a lot of folders. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
a good
think
topic
that
to show a
the important thing to note on folders is that there's no one way to organize your folders. Every person has their own individual needs for how they want to save things. And the system of emails that are out there it's totally flexible to create it however you want to. I could imagine someone keeping folders by the year or the month if they didn't want to necessarily keep it topically, or they might keep it by each person that they hear from. So there's all different ways to do that. But the idea
Yeah.
is create a system for yourself so that you can store it not in your inbox, but in another place, right?
It's a lot of danger too in your inbox of accidentally clicking that email and deleting it too. So
Mm.
once it's in the folder, it's more secure. So once I found the folder method, that helped me a lot because now I've taken everything that was important from the inbox and put it somewhere. But another thing that I would like to kind of go hand in hand are both deleting and unsubscribing from things. So if you get an email, it's no longer relevant. It was about meet me at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Now it's Wednesday. Go ahead and delete that message. Don't keep it there unless you needed, you know, had some more information on that. So when things are over with, just like you would throw out a paper that's on your desk, go ahead and delete that message. Then you don't have to be confused about what's this doing here anymore. And
Wow,
then
what
the
would
other
you
one that goes along.
May I
Oh,
ask you a question about that before you go on? What would you say to the person that says, "Ah, I might need that someday. I wanted to know that I met with that person at 4 o'clock." What would you say about that?
well, I guess that I would say put it in a folder.
Okay. You tell them,
Yeah,
go
if
ahead
you're
and
worried
keep
you're
it.
gonna need it later, you could. For example, there are some things that I've kept of past communication that I might want to remember so that the next time I spoke to that person, I could refer back to it. Yeah, if you're afraid, you could always put it in a folder because later on you could always look through your folders and delete things you don't need from your folders.
Yeah, I think there's a fear of deleting something important in an email world. And I think the one thing to point out about this that's relevant is that if you hit the delete key, most email programs will just move it to trash. They don't actually delete it right away. It just moves into a trash folder. And depending on what your settings are, it may stay there indefinitely, or I have mine that empties my trash after 30 days automatically. So if I do need it the next day and I say, oh, I wish I didn't delete that, I can just pull it out of the trash and move it back into a different folder that I want to keep it in, or even to my inbox to take action on it.
Yeah, and then also the person on the other end, if it's just a human too, if you forgot something, you could always write, you deleted it by accident. Now you regret it. I could send another email and say, hey, what did you say again? It's not the end of
Mm,
the world. So I think you have a lot more risk of being um kind of disorganized by having too many emails in your
mm.
inbox than having accidentally deleted something. Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
happened to me
interesting.
too, that I've accidentally deleted something. And, if it's really important, you can reach out to someone to get it back. So I wouldn't be afraid of that.
Yeah, I've had people tell me, well, you know the email I sent it to you just a short time ago, and they'll say, oh, I'll say yes. Now that you mention it, I do have it, and I found it. I just had to look for it in the maze of stuff that I had. The other thing about finding things that's relevant is their search capabilities. So if you may have folders created, but sometimes you can't remember which folder you put it in, or in some cases, it could go in one of two folders. You don't know exactly which one you put it in. Then a search within your email program can help you to find anything, not just in your particular folder, but even in all of the emails that you have in your system. So that's just another thing to mention. Oh, you
Yep.
mentioned something about uh, deleting or
Unsubscribe.
stopping, unsubscribing, you said, right? Tell me more
Yeah.
about that.
This is something about 8 years ago. I was so frustrated about the quantity of that junk mail coming in, things I might have subscribed to years ago, just in order to, just for one little moment that I needed. Maybe it was a discount coupon or something that I had to give my email address to. And now I'm getting so many emails from this company that's no longer part of my life. Um, and so about 8 years ago, I was like, I wonder if I can basically stop junk mail by unsubscribing. So at the time, let's just say I was getting 100 messages a day. It is a process that can take a while, but I started to just I should say individually, it doesn't take a while, but it might take a while for you to see progress, but don't give up.
Mm.
I started opening, instead of just deleting quickly that email, I would receive, let's just say it was an email from, I don't know,
Shoes.
anywhere.
You buy shoes at
Target,
Zappos.
Target. Let's
Okay.
just say I got an email from Target. And I had bought something there years ago, and now I keep getting their advertisements. So instead of just, what I used to do was just delete, 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 delete. But I can totally stop Target from sending me emails by, if I open up that message and scroll way to the bottom, almost every single company, pretty much probably are required to, there's a little link that will often be very small at the bottom that says unsubscribe, or it might say want to stop getting the emails, click here, or something like that, but often it's called unsubscribe. Click on that. Many times that's the end of the road, it will just stop. Other times it will take you to another screen, and then it might have you select preferences like totally stop or just get less, or I want advertising ones only, but I don't want sales, or something like that. And you have to take a moment. It takes a minute of your time to think through which option you want, until you find what really says, I don't want any emails.
Mm.
Now, most of the time, for example, if you made another purchase from that company, you would still receive the receipt or whatever from that purchase. But we're just talking about advertising, sales, news. Those things will go away if you click to unsubscribe. So sometimes it takes a minute after you click that initial unsubscribe, it'll take you to another window, but then you're going to go through and just try to figure out which option would really says stop. Usually then a little confirmation will come up like, we're sorry to see you go, or okay, we've understood you don't want our emails anymore. Sometimes it'll be a little confirmation, sometimes nothing. But usually a little confirmation. Now you won't see anything change right away. The only thing that will happen is that, on the next cycle, you won't get that message. So won't delete the current email from your inbox. You'll have to still go back and delete that. But the next time you should not receive it. Some companies will say, hey, it takes 7 to 10 business days to process your request. So hopefully by the end of those 10 days, you'll stop receiving those emails. And even though, hey, maybe Target is just one of 100 that you get per day, if you start doing it with each of them, just take that little bit of extra time to go through with each of them. The first couple times it might take a lot longer, but then each day, each week, each month, you should see a significant reduction in those emails until you're not receiving any junk mail anymore.
Yeah, I get it. And that's a great tip, Stephanie. Something that people should really start to tackle a little at a time. I'm sort of a vigilante when it comes to getting rid of incoming email. As soon as I've seen an email once or twice that I don't want, I might delete it the first time, but by the second or third, I go, "Look, I do not want to have this come in one more time," and I'll go through the effort of trying to get rid of them. Some are sticky, though. Some are very hard to get rid of. They'll keep pounding you with messages. And like you said, some of them will take 7 to 10 days, but they don't ever seem to go away. And you have to keep working at that one. But first, you have to get it down from the 100 emails a day you get to down to those 1 or 2 persistent ones before you can
Yeah.
really tackle those. That's a good point.
Yeah, and some of them can be a little tricky. They'll even want you to put your email address that you received the email at in order to unsubscribe. So they'll say, who wants to unsubscribe? So you have to go back to the email if you have more than one email address and figure out which one you got it from to type your email address. Sometimes they make it hard. They don't want you to unsubscribe. And one thing to watch out for has gotten me multiple times. I'm ready to click. I click unsubscribe. I go to the next window. I'm thinking I'm clicking, yes, I want to confirm, I want to unsubscribe, because often it will ask that. But sometimes instead of saying confirm you want to unsubscribe, the message says, oops, did you accidentally unsubscribe? Click here to resubscribe. And I've more than once resubscribed when I thought I was unsubscribing. And so you really have to watch that because then you'll start back all over again. So, but like you said, it gets to be less and less over time. And you have to, some of them are persistent. You just have to keep working on them. Um, for those ones, I kind of have realized there are some, I don't know what kind of companies are, if you've just signed up for something, then sold your, they've given your email to a third party or what it is, but some of them are total junk emails, not even from a company that you signed up for. And no matter how many times you're clicking unsubscribe, it doesn't seem to do anything. With those ones, what I will often do is to click to block the sender.
Mm.
And then those stop.
Yeah, that's a
And so instead of
very important
subscribing,
point. Sometimes if people don't, I think my recommendation is be careful with some of the unsubscribing you do. If you don't recognize the company or the sender as someone who you feel like you may have requested before, then you may want to go for the block approach rather than the unsubscribe approach, because they're unsubscribe. If they're spammers, if they're companies that are really just dumping emails out to people, they are using that unsubscribe as a way to confirm that there is a real person receiving this. So it's a little trick to know whether or not it's a company that you have ever used before or seen before. And if you have, then go ahead and take the approach of unsubscribing. If it's not, like I got one today and it said live health, like you are getting this email because you are a member of Live Health. And I have no idea what Live Health is. It may have been a spinoff of some company that I subscribed something to, but I don't recognize the name. So I'm very suspicious about unsubscribing to that one. I might go for the block. I also would note for those that are Apple mail program users, they have developed something in their email program where at the very top of the message, it will say, this email is from a mailing list. Would you like to unsubscribe? So you don't even have to use the company's unsubscribe. They've got a mechanism to turn it off from the email service that you use. So look for that. And that's perhaps the simplest way to unsubscribe from mailing lists without having to go through the company's methodology. So, what other
Yeah,
tips
it
do you
seems like
have, Stephanie?
that second step from going on to that second screen.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other tip that I would say is just like even as I'm signing up for things, sometimes it's just necessary to give your email address to something and you figure you'll get on the list. Is just like you said, that it's not a one and done thing. Like it's always ongoing. And so, for example, if you're then like, say I wanted to download something from a site, but in order to do that, I had to give my email address. I'm already aware, hey, as soon as I got that thing that I needed, I'm probably going to start getting emails. And so as soon as I see the first one come in, I'll go ahead and unsubscribe if it doesn't interest me. And
Mhm.
so I guess I last tip about that, which is that it would be ongoing and don't expect to solve it, but it definitely can improve.
You know, there's one other tip on that that just came to my mind as you were talking. I have had some companies that I wanted to receive emails from them, but not as many as they send. And they offer some options you may find when you go to unsubscribe that says, would you like to receive it once a week or once a month, or which ones, like you mentioned. So think about just trimming it, not necessarily cutting it out. If it's something that you want to see, they may give you an option for that. So,
That's a good idea.
yeah.
Actually, one more thought that I had, although this could get a little fancy, we could potentially mix the folder option together with this. If you didn't have time right then to deal with an unsubscribe, you could have a folder that you
Mm.
plan to unsubscribe and say that email comes in from Target. I don't have time to deal with it right now. I'll just throw it into the unsubscribe folder. And then when I have time to get around to it, I can deal with all the maybe I've got 5 or 10 in there. I can unsubscribe from all of them at the same, together and clear out my folder. But that's if
That's
you want to get fancy.
that may be the best top tip that you've given so far, because it really gets to the goal that you have in mind, which is declutter your inbox. You're actually doing this right away by getting them out of the inbox, and then maybe tackling unsubscribing all in one sit down task. Maybe it'll take you 15 or 20 minutes to unsubscribe from a selection of different companies you no longer want to see anymore. So, by the way, that brings another, there's so many topics on this subject, but I know with Gmail, and some people are Gmail users, if you go and use their regular Gmail web-based mail, they use something called tags or labels for their folders. And so they aren't actually folders, they're labels. And so you can have more than one label associated with a
Oh, that's
particular email. If you can't figure out which folder you want to put it in, you just give it two labels, and then you could find it in one of two places or more. They have, you can add as many labels as you want. Just a side note, maybe a little too techy, but worth,
that happens to me. That would be useful to me because sometimes I'll have an event for example, one of my kids at their school, and I have both a folder for upcoming events and I have a folder for my kids' school. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily know which folder I had put it in. So that would be helpful to me.
Yep, good. Any other tips you have for the email user trying to get their inbox down to manageable?
I would just say you can do it. It's a small goal that will make a big impact in your life.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, if I wanted to tackle this, but I didn't know what to do as a newbie. Do you want, say what to do? What would they do first? Like, how would you suggest a person take this on? Maybe
I
they've
think
got
that the
thousands of
unsubscribing is
emails.
a great way to start because if you start there, for example, if you could be getting 20 or more emails from a company in a given week. So the first thing I would do is open up my inbox, find one that right at the top that I've been getting a lot of emails from, and just try that. Just open up that email, scroll down to the bottom, click unsubscribe, take it where it leads you until the end where it says you've unsubscribed, and then go in and delete all the visible emails that you can see from that company. So let's just say it was from Sears. I don't even know if they're in business anymore, but let's just say you would click down to the bottom, unsubscribe, then you go back to your inbox, and just for that first amount that you can see, delete all the one from Sears because hopefully, unless they're one of the ones that take a little while, hopefully you'll never get one from them again. So you go ahead and delete those. Then you might pick a second one. Do that for as many as you see on that first page of your inbox without going too deep. And then you might start to see in between those a few emails from things that you want to hang on to, like an upcoming flight itinerary. Then I would follow along with the video that hopefully you'll make, sharing a little bit about how to make a folder. And then hopefully you would make a little folder that says travel and just make one first little folder. Throw that email into the folder. Then maybe you look down and you find another email um, from your grandson and you really want to hang on to that because that was sentimental. I would make another email, sentimental emails. One more folder, put that in. And I would just go until I get through maybe 2 or 3 pages of your inbox. And maybe you have 2,000 emails in your inbox. Um, I don't know if there's a way to just go ahead and do a mass delete and start over, but I would honestly start working through those couple pages a day until then you'll have less coming into that inbox meanwhile until you've gotten to the end, and then you will see no emails or just a few that you need in your inbox, and
Mhm.
it's going to feel great.
Well, that reminds me of a very funny story I recall from my working days. And I had an executive director that I worked for, and he had been out on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know exactly how long. And I caught him in the office just as he was coming in that morning. And I had something I wanted to discuss with him, but he was just sitting down at his desk, turning on his computer and starting to look at his inbox. And of course, it was overwhelming. He, of all people, gets emails copied from all the people that were working for him, and all these things that he, may have some interest in at different levels. And I remember that he selected the first email in the list and then went down and held the shift key and selected the last email in his inbox. highlighting every single email, and then he hit the delete key and just boom, they were all gone. And I just looked at him like, how could you do that? How did you delete like every email that you have in your inbox? And I was so afraid that, something bad would happen to him. And he just looked at me and he said, if they want me, they'll get back to me. And that was the way he
Oh,
handled it. So
wow. That's gutsy. Well, that is a good point about the email. Like if, as I said, you might have 100 pages full of emails. Honestly, if there's something that far back, perhaps I think there is a way right at the top to click. Generally, you can select all that are in that column. Maybe just go through and completely clear out your inbox of everything, unless when you were looking through, just click so that they're all highlighted to delete. If you see one or two, quick undelete that one, and meanwhile clear out, because yeah, something you got months ago is probably not relevant anymore
yeah,
to your life,
yeah,
or to figure out another way to get it back.
that's right.
But then just keep going on daily, and as you go daily, and don't let it accumulate again. Just start that unsubscribing and that deleting, and pretty soon you'll be amazed at how nice it is to just get the emails from the people that you need to hear from, and not forget to write back, because it's going to be right there in your very slimmed down inbox, as the way it's meant to be.
Yeah, it's very freeing, isn't it, when you have all that stuff organized again and you don't have to deal with the past, that your mess is on your hands. Well, hey, Stephanie, this has been a really good discussion. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for being on the show. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. Be sure to check out our show notes for further information and for helpful links that that were mentioned on the show. Stephanie, any last comments that you'd like to throw in there for us?
It's been fun, giving me some new ideas and got me motivated to continue on.
All right, good. So if you, as listeners, have any questions or comments, please leave a note in the comments section, or you can write me at techtipsforseniorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks. Well, thanks for joining me today on Tech Tips for Seniors. I hope you found today's tech tip helpful. If so, let me know by leaving a note in the comments section for this episode. And it would be awesome if you would also like, subscribe, and pass this on to a friend who can get something out of it. It would also be helpful if you left a review. So if you've already done that, thank you so much. Remember, stay tuned for the next episode of Tech Tips for Seniors. Take care.